Welcome to the Red Dirt Agronomy Podcast. My name is Dave Deacon. It's episode 109, so thank you for making your way back to listen in on our conversations about agriculture and everything below and above the soil. Do us a favor and go ahead and hit the subscribe button on your streaming service, and you will be one of the first to know when a new Red Dirt Agronomy Podcast drops. We're coming to you again from Dr. Jason Warren's research lab on the agronomy farm at Oklahoma State University, and he's spending some time with his family this week, so he left us a key and asked us to pick up any mess that we made. And don't worry, Jason, we left your lab better than we found it. Now, if you saw Brian's post last week on Twitter, you got a sneak peek of us recording this podcast last Friday, which was June 8th, 2022. And we made sure to retweet it over on the Red Dirt Ag Twitter page as well. In this episode, we are talking irrigation technology, water skiing on Lake Optima, and Oklahoma Panhandle crops with Oklahoma State University Extension Specialist for High Plains Irrigation and Water Management, of course, Dr. Sumit Sharma. We have resources of what he mentioned in the podcast on our website, reddirtagronomy.com. Now let's start with a quick trip around the table so you know who is whom, and more importantly, where to send your emails. So let's start with a guy who's pretty excited about his corn yield entry into the 103rd Annual Panhandle Exposition and Texas County Fair.
No, the zero nitrogen only cut 285.
That is Oklahoma State University Extension Precision Nutrient Management Specialist, Dr. Brian Ernell. Now, usually to his left would be Oklahoma State University Extension Soil and Water Conservation Management Specialist, Dr. Jason Warren, but like we said earlier, he's enjoying a long weekend mini vacation with his family, so we're looking forward to hearing about it when he gets back and records the next podcast. And finally, to my right is a man who is super hopeful for the crops making it through the drought.
It's hot! Crop update successful.
Oklahoma State University Extension Cropping System Specialist, Dr. Josh Lofton. If you'd like to ask the group a question, then jump over to reddirtagronomy.com and leave a question there, or send an email directly to podcast@reddirtagronomy.com, and we will discuss your question on the next podcast. So let's start out with a summer crop update as of July 8th, 2022 with Dr. Josh Lofton. You are listening to the Red Dirt Agronomy Podcast.
You know, just really depends on where you are.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of the state that is going through pretty significant, droughty conditions. That being paired with all this heat is really turning a lot of things. We were out looking in the field this morning, and even some irrigated corn, that's been watered for Brian, the last 3 weeks or so. It's just got so many skips in the kernel set just because it's been so hot. And, a lot of people think, oh, it's always this hot. Well, if you look at our nighttime temperatures, and I think we talked about this last time, it's not really the daytime temperatures that get us all the time. It's the fact that we're not cooling down to the mid to low 70s or even the high 60s where Summit is, which normally you'll get that. We're still staying well in the 80s. I think 2 nights ago it was still 85 or 86 degrees at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
Basically, you're just going to get very little pollination of a lot of things, and just not having that ability to crop to kind of open up those stomates and have that gas exchange if you're C4, or just get a break from it if you're things like soybeans or anything like that, then that's kind of where we're seeing even places that have gotten rain, the crop still is struggling from just heat stress, and it doesn't help when a lot of times it comes with the wind. It just increases that evapotranspiration rate up high enough that it just makes it to where it just it's struggling earlier and earlier in the morning. And I think, Dave, we've talked several years ago about if you see rolled up corn or sorghum or really drought stressed cotton or soybean and it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon, that's fine. That's just what Mother Nature intended those crops to do, right?
Suffer.
But if you're seeing that at 9 o'clock in the morning, that's a rough time, because that just means that we decreased a lot of photosynthetic capacity because we're all rolled up, and it's struggling that early in the morning. That's when we can go ahead and start thinking to ourselves, we're losing some yield here because of it. So,
well, and one thing you were talking about was that the corn pollination, and that's that's just a small window of opportunity for that to happen in the cooler weather.
Yeah. Well, and that's typically why we like to see corn pollinate here in June or early July and not mid to late July, or in the double crop sense later, because that typically is when we would get at least some cooler nights, even if the days are relatively warm. We typically have those big swings in temperature a day. We're just not getting them this year, and that's hurting. So it's not to say that it's unseasonably warm. I think that it is unseasonably warm for this time of year, but it's very unseasonably warm in the evenings,
right?
And we're just not getting that relief consistently. You see it 1 or 2 days of the week we'll get down into the 70s, but then you look at the 10-day forecast, and all the rest of the days we're still in the 80s, and that just hurts. And it hurts everything. Me and Brian were talking a little bit earlier, gardens are struggling to produce, and the crops are struggling to produce, and you start seeing people's lawns are going brown, and the forage, the pastures are going brown. So it's hurting everything. Those high nighttime temperatures in June and the first part of July are really detrimental.
I want to try something here that's worked for us in the past, and we didn't do it last time, and I think that we're impacted by that, but we need to talk about how dry it is, because it seems like every time we do that, we get a good 2-inch rain. So it's been really dry. Drought's intensifying. What other words did we use that brought on the rain last time?
Did you, everybody needs to go put their seed sacks out in the front area.
Yeah, that's right.
Wash their car,
roll
their windows down,
yes.
Leave a sprayer out in the middle of the field. So, various things like that. Load up a trailer and put it out in a grass patch, and then we might get some rain. Other than that, I don't know if we're going to get any before maybe. I mean, to
December.
be quite honest, you look at the long-range forecast, we're looking mid-August before our rain chances really start peaking up again.
I think that's what we talked about last time, the long range, and then it rained the next day. So that's good.
Long range.
We got to remember that.
Mention the National Weather Service and stuff like that. then things will. But I mean, you look at the ticker. You look at they released the National Weather Service last week.
Yeah.
The July one, and Oklahoma is the bullseye of well above normal for temperatures and way below normal for moisture. So.
That's a top 10 move right there.
Yeah. Well.
Okay. Well, that's good. So
I've done everything I can to make it rain now. So,
so Brian, what does that mean in your wheelhouse, aside from just staying inside and hoping the crop makes it?
We're trying to keep some of the crop alive, so we have data. That's one of the challenges we have with some of the research, and I've posted on social media, and people like to make fun of me, say we're cheating, and we are, but we're just trying to keep some crops survive so we can get some grants and some data taken care of. It's setting back. I'm right now kind of thinking as we go through with this, okay, how are we going to plan for a double, not necessarily a double crop, but what's going to go in? What's going to happen with wheat? Josh has asked me multiple times, Brian, how much rain do we need to get a good wheat crop established?
Because that's a real question we need to start asking ourselves is maybe some of our summer crops start failing. Mm-hmm. How much rain are we realistically going to need to actually get a wheat crop established? And between now and October, of course. I mean, we don't need to get it in the next 2 weeks, but...
No. And we need, ideally we have not just enough to germinate it, but we have enough leading up to that time to rebuild a little bit this soil moisture profile. It has been horribly depleted, and I'll build on to Josh's how horrible it is we're working with some forage producers. I've had a Bermuda grass trial with these local producers for 8 years now, 7 years now. Always have a treatment response, NPK, pH. It's just a great location, get good. They're intensively managed for this region, multiple cuttings, fertility, really taking care of the stuff. There was no treatment impact this first cutting.
Wow.
2.5 ton across the board. Didn't matter what we did, nitrogen, phosphorus. It was just flat. And they're worried about having hay not only for themselves. They sell hay. They sell hay, but they also have their own herd. They don't know if they're going to have enough for their own herd, much less what to sell. And so just trying to figure out. And we go back to, and they're looking at neighbors who they know don't manage it as intensively as they do. And they're cutting this time turn 3 times as much, a lot more. And we go back. We have to go all the way back to the fall to find out some of the differences. Is one, they took a late season cutting, which you normally would.
Right.
They cut perfectly. They cut it. It was kind of a short crop, cut it 3 inches above. And, it never rained after that point. Their neighbors took a fall cutting, but it was after the crop had finished. It was basically, it died down, and they just took a rough harvest off of that. So going into that, you had the crop pulled, wasn't able to put in energy back in the rhizomes because it never rained in the fall to get a little bit of growth. And then coming into the spring, it just wasn't there, and it probably cost them 2 ton an acre.
Wow.
Because of the last fall, which every hay manager would have, that would have been an intensively manager. You do it. It was the right timing, proper cutting height, everything right. And they're looking at hitting at this, and I mean, they got that first cutting off this year. It hasn't rained since. Yeah. And so a little bit of a green up, looking at, what's going to be. And so we look at that, and that's a pretty significant depletion of the soil profile. Our evaporation's, our ET right now is running 4/10 easy in a tall crop. Short crop's probably about the same. So we're pulling so much moisture. Josh, talk about Bixby, where we always get to fight pigweed. I mean, it's not even an underestimate.
Yeah.
When I say fight pigweed, it's not a small battle. It is a forest.
Yeah, and we have literal areas to where we've done very little weed management this year because it's so dry the weeds aren't even growing.
Wow.
We actually just got done with a group from Kansas State that were here and commented. They're like, well, the plots are so clean. I'm like, well, the plots are clean because there's not even been enough rain for weeds to grow, and we're even seeing some weeds get up. Pig weeds that are getting up a couple inches, and I think I even saw something on Twitter the other day get up a couple inches and then die because it just runs out of moisture. And so it's one of those situations that especially for a lot of folks that went in and put double crop. But 2 things I want to go back to. One is we talk about moisture. I don't even know if moisture will save us right now, and if we're not going to get a relief from some of this heat. Like I said, we have irrigated stuff that looks rough in the morning that has gotten an inch the day before. And so the heat is got to break. We need both. We need a little bit of moisture and we need a little bit of heat. But then some areas, the crop is struggling, but it looks beautiful.
Yeah.
And we've seen things on like corn that's got bad pollination, or sorghum that's got blanks in the head, that the plant looks awesome.
Yeah.
It's these places that have caught rains, but once again, it's going back to that heat. That heat is also getting to us right now because they are going through critical growth stages, and we're even seeing our soybeans start to abort pods and abort flowers and stuff because they're trying to set pods and they're starting to fill pods in this heat, and it doesn't work. And the more days we get to where we're at 104, 105, and continuing to sit there and then having those high nighttime temperatures, it's going to be a struggle. And, introduce our guest here, but, it's one of those things that Summit, from the Panhandle, it's even, where we've had moisture out there, we've caught some good rains the last couple of weeks. It's still hot, and it's probably the crops are struggling because of it.
I absolutely agree with you. Our production environment over there this year has been challenging. It's been 180 swipe this year because last year was one of the best years for corn production, and people have registered over 300 bushels per acre. Dr. Arnold set a record for OPREC.
Hear that, Jason Warren?
Yeah.
Take that.
Had 300 plus bushels for zero nitrogen, right?
No, the zero nitrogen only cut 285.
Okay, but
Only
still,
285.
Yes,
Only.
but still,
Measly amount.
it's much higher than what we have averaged in our hybrid trials over there.
Imagine looking at all the volunteer we have out here. Just imagine the yields if we'd got that grain in, because when we cut it, it shattered really bad. I guarantee we had 10 to 15 bushel out of that header loss.
Oh yeah,
because we were cutting like 8% moisture, and that cob was shaking, and just seed was just shattering everywhere.
Yep. So, no, I agree that the production environment has been challenging, and even those irrigated crops are struggling. When you have 105 degree plus days, no matter how much water you have in the soil, that plant's going to shut down.
Right.
So, and luckily our nighttime temperature in the mornings, the minimums are still in high 60s or low 70s, but it doesn't help because it's going up really quickly in the morning. The rains we have got, so last rain they received in Cimarron County was in the big last year. It was half an inch. That was last week of August last year. And then the next one they received, which was considerable, which was more than a quarter inch, was in May this year.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
So a couple of snowfall events that we had, it was dry snow. Didn't do anything. And I've lived there 5 years. This was the year when I observed more fires in that area, more dust storms in that area. And the grass, which was supposed to be looking green in May, was still yellow.
Wow.
Our major rainfall time period is from May to August, when we received about 9 to 10 inches. And July and August are critical because that's when our crops are pollinating. And we are already in July. And we are behind.
Wow.
We need these rains, not only for the crops which are planted and growing, but also to recharge that profile for the wheat that's going to go in the ground in September.
Mm-hmm.
So, like Dr. Lofton said, do whatever you can, like leave that sprayer outside or leave anything on in front of the gate or your doors, drain dance or whatever.
Right. and wash the car and
Yeah.
anything it takes to get the rain to fall.
Yes.
Well, Josh, do you want to introduce him?
Well, nobody can introduce Summit as well as Summit. So I mean,
okay.
So Summit, you're new but not new. Out in the Panhandle and kind of our agronomist irrigation specialist out there. So why don't you tell everybody kind of what your specialty is and kind of some of the work you're looking into.
So I'm Dr. Sumit Sharma. I work as assistant extension specialist in Oklahoma State University, and I sit in Oklahoma Panhandle Research and Extension Center in Goodwill. That's in Panhandle of Oklahoma. My work majorly focuses on irrigation and adjusting agronomics based on limited water capacities that we have over there. Some of the projects that I'm involved in includes cotton production as a rotational crop with corn. And so we're trying to produce cotton with limited well capacities, and see if we short water on it, can we hasten its maturity, because we have narrow window for cotton production in that area. It's a little too north for it. And the other project I'm involved in is I'm looking at different hybrids planted at different population, subjected to different irrigation rates up to V10, and then we start giving them full water. So the irrigation rates are 60%, 80%, and full irrigation. We are looking at the hybrids that we have chosen is they have flexing capabilities. So we are looking at if we give them a little bit of stress early on and then give them everything they need during critical stages, will they compensate using their flexing capabilities, compensate the yield, and how do they respond to low population when we stress them. The other one that I'm involved in, other project that I'm involved in is with regenerative ag. That's project both Texas A&M and Oklahoma got funded from NIFA. And I'm looking at adaptability of cover crops in the Panhandle, both dryland and irrigated. So the drylands, we are looking at planting them after wheat harvest, so that we can utilize that moisture we receive in July and August and see how much these crops use and compare it with the fallow ground, and also look at how much weed suppression we get if we get good ground cover from these crops. the winter crops, these are summer cover crops, and the winter cover crops will be planted behind cotton, because cotton is one crop that doesn't leave much residue on the ground,
Right.
but it's also catching more and more interest from the producers for its attractive returns, and you can manage those grass weeds in it easily. So we are going to look at some cover crops behind cotton that will be irrigated, winter cover crops.
What kind of options are there for a cover crop after cotton?
Well, right now we are looking at wheat, oats, and rye.
Okay.
But we will also include some more like clover or other legumes when we will plant. Fertilizer prices are going up, so
Right.
if including some legume, and we'll see if it can help with some nutrient recharge.
Well, that's the intro. We came out and gave a presentation with you a couple months ago, and Jason wanted me to talk cover crops out in the Panhandle, and I'm like, I don't have anything, but the interest is there.
It is,
and it's not just behind cotton. It's the growers that are out there that said that the corn's just not providing. That part of the world's just gotten hit with so much high winds, and the wind erosion has just been so significant, even where you have corn residue, that they're interested in putting covers behind corn, even to try to get that ground to stay in place. Yeah,
I agree. Yes, and there is a lot of interest. There's a lot of suspicion as well. So,
Yeah.
And suspicion is for moisture.
yeah,
Right.
exactly.
But there is interest, and there is an opportunity for us to go and try doing few things and see what we come up with. And they are aware of the benefits of cover crops.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the reasons is that, like I said, earlier this year, we were looking at dust storms.
Mhm.
And when you look at those things, and it triggers that thought process among the producers.
Right.
What can I do to protect my soil?
So I'll also say Summit, while his position out there is relatively new, Summit, you've been out as an extension specialist 2 years now?
2 years.
2
yes.
years now. He's not a newbie to Oklahoma or to Oklahoma State. Summit's had several years in the system, left, and then came back and worked with Dr. Warren a bit as a postdoc out at the Panhandle. So, to get somebody like Summit that is an amazing researcher, great to interact with, that actually enjoys being in the Panhandle. It's not always the easiest suit to get somebody to go out there and do research in the Panhandle. It
We
just what it
greatly
is. So.
apologize for Brian Arnold's comments.
Well,
I know, so never mind.
and actually, you've been a judge in a parade or a chili contest. I forget what it was.
It was a parade.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
He's not a couple years from announcing, looking into being a mayor out there.
Oh,
so it's okay.
Well,
It's definitely on his. It's there.
I might get in trouble because I go to Mayor's restaurant and to enjoy his barbecue that he cooks over there. He probably will ban me from coming to his restaurant if he knows that I'm his competition.
he might be okay you running against him as mayor, but maybe not in the barbecue realm.
Yeah,
I mean, that's where the business is. That's
No, it's great having Summit out in the Panhandle because it allows us. We've already got a great crew out there working the OPREC, and we have the McCall station. But having Summit out there, he's kind of a lifesaver for our research because we're so far away from that facility, and yet may have quite a bit of work going on out there. Summit being out there has been great, and having his ability. He leads the Master Irrigators program, and so I've got some numbers. I've been waiting for you to get back from this trip. I got about 3 guys that want to know how to get involved in Master Irrigators, and so
Thank you.
so he's done a great job on bringing that through the Oklahoma State program.
Yep. I forgot to mention that I organize Oklahoma Master Irrigator program. Yeah. So
what goes into becoming a master irrigator?
So let me go back a little bit. So Master Irrigators program was started in Texas Panhandle.
Mhm.
So the North Plains Groundwater District started it. I think they started in 2016. And in 2018, they invited Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, New Mexico, Colorado.
Right.
So they invited and they showed us what they were doing. They showed us this program, and then conversations started in all these states to launch a program of our own for our own audience. Colorado started it in 2020. We were planning on starting 2020, and COVID hit, and in-person meetings were canceled and everything. So we ended up launching it in 2021, the first program in Panhandle. Now the Master Irrigator program, it's a name that we got from Texas, and they gave us a page like these are the requirements to for your program to qualify as Master Irrigator program. And one of the major requirements is that there should be at least 24 hours worth of material that needs to be covered. So we spread those 24 hours, 24 to 32 hours, so maximum 32 hours. So we spread those hours over 4 days, so 1 day per week. And we invite producers, crop consultants, and farm managers to attend this program. And it's the major topics we cover is soil water, plant water, and moisture sensors, irrigation models, and then irrigation equipment. So whether it's overhead, subsurface, or surface irrigation, depending upon the location where we are delivering this program. In addition, we have special topics like Dr. Arnold covers nutrients and drone aerial imagery. So we have whatever interest the producer shows that they want to learn, we try to bring it in. The good thing about this program is that we actually form a committee or advisory panel that involves producers of that area. Yes, where we are going to launch the program. So we have a team from OSU. So that's me, Dr. Wagner, Dr. Warren, and Dr. Takvayan from BAE. And the producers and crop consultants from the area, we have meetings with them. We present them a curriculum, so get the thought process going, and then they tell us, all right, I like this topic, include this, subtract that. So and then we come up with it. In order to graduate from the program, you're supposed to attend all 4 classes. Because we were going through this COVID situation, the first 2 programs have been hybrid programs. So they were in-person and virtual presentations. And the first one was in Panhandle, and the second one was in Altus, southwest Oklahoma. We have had good turnouts so far. So 37 people have graduated.
Wow.
The space was for 50. The total participation was 40 or 41, and a couple of guys could not complete it because of health reasons, or they had to go somewhere. But it's been going good, and the next one will be in 2023 in the Panhandle again.
So how has irrigation changed in the Panhandle? I mean, my perspective is it started out, hey, we'll just drill a hole, get the water out of the ground, put it on the crop. But since the early days of irrigation, there's been a lot of science and maybe has become more efficient and more effective in water applications. How has the irrigator taken to that?
Yeah, so over time, like you said, you drill a hole, and then you pump the water out and flood it.
Right.
It's not there anymore. It's nearly 100% center pivot.
Wow.
Yes. And over time, the changes that, once they adopted center pivots, over time the changes which have happened, especially the last decade, is they have more control over their operations. Mm-hmm. You have pivot control systems coming over. You can control the pivot from your phone. You can measure every inch of water that you are putting. And now the more precision application technologies are coming there, moisture sensors, and our crop consultants are one of the major drivers for adoption of these technologies because they also use these. So, from the early days to now, producers have more control over their irrigation operations, and they can make, with the help of these technologies which are available to them, they can make more informed decisions. And but the new technologies which are coming, they're digitized, they're digital. And in order to interpret the data, you want to know what it's showing you. That's where we are trying to help them with extension programs like Oklahoma Master Irrigator Program. So, the short-term goals are like to elevate the level of knowledge regarding new technologies which are coming. And the medium term is to, help them in adoption of these technologies. And the long term is for sustainable irrigation, development of a sustainable irrigation infrastructure or operations in the area.
Well, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you go, Dave.
I was just going to say, whenever I was in Arkansas last week, and I was talking with the producer who was irrigating, and he was making decisions about when he was going to start his irrigation. He was flooding his crops. I guess that's more common in Arkansas, and he said, whenever I turn that on, it's $51,000 to get the water out of the ground, across the crop, and all of that. And so that the financial side of it, but then also the amount of aquifer that's left down there, those are also decisions that those producers are doing. So the science that you're performing out there is actually making those decisions a little better for the producer out there.
Yes, it's helping them, but you just brought a point in my mind. Over time, I have not looked at data what they were growing predominantly in the 80s or 70s.
Right.
But over time, the cropping systems, I'm pretty sure, have also changed.
Oh, yeah.
And we are seeing them right now that the interest in cotton is picking up, and I'm pretty sure in 2017, I remember I presented, Milo had more area than corn.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
And I won't be surprised if the statistics from NAS come out and Milo had more area than corn this year too.
Jeez.
Really? So I wasn't expecting that.
But the drought
This year and last year. Yep.
That's interesting. Sunflower used to be big. I mean, there used to be.
Well, and just 2 or 3 years ago, we had a tremendous acreage of soybean out there,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and that's kind of gone down. But I'm sure it'll pick back up. We get into that rainy cycle again out there, and it'll pick back up. And it's just it's good to have a lot of options because even 10 years ago, I think it was very standard, and we've added options, which is another good reason that Summit's out there, is because looking at questions involved in as we change irrigation, as well capacity goes down, and stuff like that. What decisions do we have to make? Is corn still good enough? If we can only irrigate 5 times a year, if you will, is corn still our best option? And
which is
we don't
the
know
fun,
that
the
answer.
population by flex, by water is really fun. So what he was talking about earlier kind of gets back to our maybe ability or necessity to lower our total pumping volume. So what can we do to get away with that? Is there a genetic track, I guess you could say, with that hybrid flex? Does that allow us the capability? And so it really, a lot of the stuff he's doing out there isn't focused on, okay, let's grow 400 bushel corn in the high plains.
Right.
Because the well capacity, I mean, I've known wells in some, 15, 20 years ago, it might have been 1,200 gallon per minute. Now they're 400 gallon per minute.
Yeah.
And so that's a whole lot less water.
Yeah.
I'm no mathematician, but I think
You can math that out.
right.
That
you need
is
to count on your
statistically
toes,
different.
Dave.
Yeah.
Please let us know.
I'll have to rip my shoes off for that one. So, what to that point, what crops are you researching out there right now, or working with? The corn, the milo, cotton. Which are the ones?
Yeah, all three.
Yes.
Okay.
That's it.
The answer is
you
yes,
hit the
Dave.
big- yeah.
And you're projecting or expecting, I guess, a swing in the popularity in those three.
Yes. So say corn, I'm trying to see if we can adjust the agronomics, like population and stuff, so that we can still produce some profitable crop with less amount of water. Mm-hmm. And cotton, can we establish it as one of the rotational or one of the major crops there? And milo, can we adjust its planting date back and forth so we can catch the rains in July when it's into its reproductive stages? Because last year we had really good June, July, and first half of August, and then it was miserable. Every weekend was 30
Probably
plus.
an understatement.
Yeah,
Dang.
so Milo suffered, but because its reproductive stage is, it was filling its grain at that time, so its energy was divided into whether it's going to fill the grain or
Right.
survive.
Well, but that's a good point to bring out there. We've talked in the podcast several times about diversification in your system, and I don't think any place in the state of Oklahoma could value from diversification like the Panhandle, because all you need is a bad back half of June, 1st of July, and your corn is not worth anything. But
Yep.
your milo and potentially cotton might be outstanding.
Yes.
We do it the opposite way. Like last year, corn was awesome.
Yep.
And cotton had its place, but milo, because it caught right there in the middle, it struggled. So it's one of those things that, especially with well capacity and being able to direct water at certain times to a lot on corn, a lot on cotton, but milo, we're going to rest this well over here this year. That's an important step for them to kind of make going forward.
Yes. Actually, I didn't mention one thing that Dr. Lofton brought up. Over the years, what I think that changes in irrigation has come is the distribution of irrigation. As the wells are going down, you are joining multiple wells, and you're distributing that water between multiple circles or multiple crops.
Now, I'm going to ask a city slicker kind of dumb question here, but whenever I irrigate, listen to me, whenever I water my front yard,
There you go.
irrigate.
Appropriate word.
Yes,
Yeah.
whenever I irrigate, which is actually, I have an OSU variety in my front yard, so I only have to water it like once every 2 weeks, which is really nice. But is it better to, are you seeing any benefit to watering in a irrigating? See, I need to switch those out.
There you go.
Irrigating in the morning or in the evening during the day, a time of day. Is there any benefit to any of that?
Are we still talking about the yard?
No, the crops. I didn't know if there was a time of day that would work better for that.
In the Panhandle, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter?
Yeah, some of those circles are running 24/7.
Yeah.
I was
120
waiting for his answer. The answer is, when does the pivot hit that spot?
Yeah.
Right.
That's the best
yeah.
time for it to
Yeah.
hit that spot.
Because you got to
Yeah.
think, Dave. So in that system, depending on their speed of turn, it might be 2 days to.
Yeah. So
Go ahead.
I can give you an example. 600 gallons per minute on a quarter, section circle, which is 120 acres.
Right.
It's gonna take 5 days to put 1.25 inch. Wow. And when you have your ET per day ET, 35 hundredths of an inch, or even some days 50 hundredths of an inch, that thing keeps going. So there's no
Wow.
best time. So
Yeah.
it's when it hits the spot.
So the better question could be for that: is it better to do a lot of small applications
Oh, yeah.
versus one? So do you slow roll the pivot to put on 1.5 inches, or do you speed it up and do a lot of 1/3 of an inch or 1/2 of an inch applications? Because the question is it better to get it over more often or more?
Less frequent
Yep.
and bigger. The answer is less frequent and bigger applications. Because you are putting, say, I might be wrong on my math here, but just imagine that 600 gallons per minute and it's on a 24-hour circle rotation. You're putting about, say, 1/4 inch per rotation. A lot of it is going to get intercepted by the plants, and some of it is never going to hit any surface. It's going to get evaporated. It's especially if it's putting that water at 2 p.m. when the sun is at very high and it's very hot and it's 30 miles an hour.
Yeah.
That's not going to help anyway. Instead, you put 1¼ inch. Even if there is some interception, that's going to make its way down to the soil, and it will intercept the soil. 1/4 inch is only going to sprinkle over the soil surface, and it has not reached the roots of the plants, right? And it's going to get evaporated before it's going to get utilized. You have to be careful with your profile as well, because small amounts, more frequent is not going to help your profile, but less frequent, larger amount is going to help your profile, because we depend a lot on our profile recharge in that area. That the way I can put it is, you guys have heard me many times saying it. Panhandle is blessed with a lot of land, plenty of sunlight and deep soils, but God has its own ways to keep people humble. He's shorted on water.
So Dave, and this is anybody in the Panhandle or doing the High Plains irrigation would know this, but the unique thing about the Panhandle production system, the High Plains, is that they do this thing called pre-watering. So they start irrigating the second it's not freezing to try to fill a soil profile in the winter when ET is low.
Yeah.
They want to be able to stick a soil probe down to 4 foot deep, or a water probe down 4 to 6 foot deep without it stopping. Wow. Then you plant, and then you start watering, because what we see right now is the ET is the evapotranspiration rate is so much greater than what you can irrigate and rainfall, is that you need that basically that gas tank has to be full. Even though you're stopping to refill and recharge every other day or every 3 days, you're going through that gas tank all season long. So by the time in a normal year, by the time you're harvesting corn, you're basically at net zero.
Right.
And you're dry. And you don't have to worry about mudding out the crop out there, because it's going to be dry.
Dry, yeah.
Wow. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll dive more into that profile charging and more into irrigation. You are listening to the Red Dirt Agronomy Podcast. While the doctors take a quick break to discuss the very diverse wildlife they've seen at the research stations across the Panhandle, like elk and black bear, yes, in the Oklahoma Panhandle, I wanted to remind you that the websites related to what Dr. Sumit Sharma talked about are linked from our website, reddirtagronomy.com. And if you have questions for the group, you can send them to us from the website, or send us an email directly to podcast@reddirtagronomy.com, or just simply send us a tweet. Our handle is Red Dirt Ag on the Twitter sphere. Now, it sounds like they have it all sorted out, so we'll get back to the podcast with a question about how irrigation technology has changed over the decades. You are listening to the Red Dirt Agronomy Podcast.
All right, so, the most prominent technologies that we're looking at are moisture sensors and irrigation scheduling models. There were some companies which were taking aerial imagery and giving some canopy temperature measurements, and that lets us know what part of the field are water stress, depending upon the thermal signatures you're getting from them. So, but the first two are the major ones that you will see. So moisture sensors, ideally you install one per field, and the companies usually follow the yield monitor maps or soil maps. So they put the moisture sensor in a soil that represents major part of the field, or where you have maximum amount of yield production that you're getting from that area. The moisture sensors nowadays which are coming that we are using, let me say there are two types. One which are research grade. They're point measurements, and you install them at one depth, and you're going to get measurement for that depth. They're very accurate. Of course, they need to be calibrated. And the commercial ones, you can install them. It's one sensor. It's long, about 3 feet or 4 feet, and it's going to give you the measurements for your full profile at different depths. Yes, so it could be 4-inch, 8-inch, 12-inch, or it could be 6-inch, 12-inch, and depending on what company you go for. Now, earlier the moisture sensors were that you install them once the crop has established, but you need to take them out once crop has matured and you are ready to harvest. And you had to go and look at the data in the field. Now everything comes to your phone, right? Telemetry has a lot of advancement has been made in telemetry. So these sensors that we have, they, of course, the multiple depths have advantage. You have better picture of your rooting depth, where the roots have reached. Are you using full profile? Do you need to slow down your pivot? Are you, the amount of water you are putting, are you just replacing the ET?
Right.
So all sort of things, the advantage of these multiple depths you get, they help with making those decisions and visualize what's happening below surface when it comes to water. The technology, in my experience, the best part where it can help you, the moisture sensors, they can help you, is early in the season or late in the season.
Right.
Because I feel like that there is more thought that goes into whether I should start the pivot or not. It's early in the season when your crops are small. Mm-hmm. They don't have that much ET requirement, and the summer has not peaked yet. Right. So that part, and that's where your moisture sensor can help you if you know what's happening in the field. And the other part is, should I give that last water or not? So in that case, you can look at, you go to Mesonet website and see what was your ET requirements for last 7 days, and what was the temperature or environmental conditions. Can you compare those things to next 7 days? And if it's going to be the same, and your moisture sensor says you have enough water in the profile that can cover those 7 days, and your crop will be matured in 8 to 10 days, you probably can skip that last water.
Right.
So that's where technology can come and be handy, like moisture sensors. The commercial irrigation scheduling models, we have a handful. I think we have only 2 which are available. So one is FieldNet Advisor, and I think one has come from Valley. So you feed everything in them, what hybrid, maturity, planting date. Whenever you feed the data, the growth stage of the crop, and they're compatible with the pivot control system you have. So FieldNet Advisor will only work with FieldNet control system if you have, and Valley will work only with Valley. So these guys, you have an app for them. You can also access them on web browsers on your computer, and they have these, crop growth models, the local climate, everything fed into it and put together. And these models basically make decision for you when you need to start water next, and how much you need to put. But the amount you put, you can set. Like, I'm going to, every time I'm going to put water, I'm going to put 1.25 inches.
Right.
And that model's going to adjust to that, and it's going to tell after 5 days, after 6 days. And it takes into account rainfall and everything. Even moisture sensor companies are also doing this. So that's where we are heading. More and more automated and more decision support assistance for the producers. And it comes handy if you have 30 circles to manage.
Right. Yeah.
So that's, and you don't have a lot of workforce, and you have large area to manage. And that's where technology comes in handy. And I will go back to what I said before the break. You can control your systems from your phone now. So yeah, that's where we're heading, and it's going to get more and more automated. I see it in the future.
So let me ask you, like, so if you come downstate, less and less of the acreage is irrigated, especially in traditional wheat country. But we are getting a lot of the summer crops in, the soybeans and grain sorghum, a lot of corn going in and stuff. But we have a great tool in the state in Mesonet.
Yes.
So if you're not looking to irrigation schedule or something along those lines, how could a grower use even distant soil moisture like a Mesonet to help kind of look at how their crop's stressing? But there's also a lot of depth. So when would a grower move from like a 4-inch plain available water to a 16-inch or a 32-inch plain available water? Kind of how does that work, and how might a grower be able to use that from a moisture standpoint?
So actually, Mesonet itself has an irrigation planner tool in it. So you go to the website, and up on top where the tabs are, home, past data, and everything, there is a tab called Agriculture. Go there, and it will open a new window, and you can see your site, like the location of the Mesonet. Change that to your Mesonets, to your area, and then you will have options of different crops. So you have corn, or you have short crop, tall crop, and you select one, and then you have option of crops like corn, alfalfa, or cotton, or soybeans, and everything. Click on that, and those models have already posted how much ET has been lost, how much water has been lost in ET for that particular crop, and it's day by day, it's daily evapotranspiration. So you can add those things, and you assume you cannot separate evaporation from transpiration, so you have to use that ET as a whole. So if you have 4 inches of water, say, and in the last 10 days, if you add all the evapotranspiration loss that you have had and it accumulates to like 3 inches, then you have 1 inch left in your profile. So that's how you can determine how much water you're losing and what the future looks like.
So I want to kind of go sideways. I just want your opinion on this and see where it goes. So riddle me this. If given the region that soil sensors and precision irrigation is the most important. So if you go the Panhandle, you have dwindling aquifers, but you have a greater need of irrigation. We talk about pre-watering. We talk about the heat. There's not rainfall. Versus downstate where the yields are less, but we have more rainfall and less dwindling aquifer. ROI for variable or for precision irrigation, is it better for the high plains? Do you think there's more return to save the aquifer with that in the high plains, or more opportunity to do irrigation proper in more downstate where we have more rainfall to be working around? Where's more decisions being made? Does that make sense?
So your question is where the technology is more useful in decision making, in Northwest or Southwest to say? Yeah, I would say Northwest. The reason is because these Southwest, water is not our most limiting factor. Northwest it is, and we need to protect that our most limiting factor. And like you were saying earlier, in this year you might not see the nutrient response because that's not your most major limiting factor. It's going to be moisture, right? So when it comes to technology and all these decision makings, it has more value up there. And I have not traveled much to Southwest Oklahoma, and I don't know the farm sizes and how big the farm operations are. But if you're managing 60 circles and 3,000 acres, that can be handy.
Yeah, I could see that. Do we have enough long-term data to estimate how much water conservation can be obtained over, because in any given year you may or may not have water conservation. Like this year, irrigation sensor would tell you don't turn it off.
Yep.
But there are years that you can. So is there any sense of what over a long term we can do with irrigation as far as total water conservation if we implement these strategies in the high plains? do we have a sense of over a 10-year span we can reduce total application by X inches per year or something? Because you're like this year you wouldn't reduce it any, but maybe last year you could have reduced it by 6 to 8 inches. So do you have any idea or any feel of what irrigation technology will be able to do for the long term of total applied irrigation?
One thing I would say with confidence is that it can help curb the losses of water.
Okay.
When you don't need to apply water, then you don't need to apply water. It can tell you that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where technology can help us. It's not only the moisture sensors or irrigation scheduling. I think in future it will be an integrated approach, and one of the most important thing will be our prediction of weather patterns. If I know that it's going to rain tomorrow, for sure,
Right.
then it's going to help me save water.
We're doing our part on this podcast by mentioning how hard the drought is every time and then deriving a rain. So hopefully that helps after this podcast too. Hopefully you get a good rain up there.
Yeah.
I've been saying for years I can do nitrogen management perfectly if you give me a good 120-day rainfall forecast. Speaking of which, our rainfall chances have dropped by 10% and another inch.
So we're down to 40%?
We're about 40% and half an inch.
Oh, geez. Okay.
I don't know why we're talking about this.
But you brought it up.
I have a question for Dr. Arnold.
Oh boy.
So we are talking about moisture sensors.
Yeah.
Now, moisture sensors don't only give moisture; it also gives EC. But it's a point measurement because essentially it's one moisture sensor per field.
Yep.
What do you think about that?
So I'm going to have you explain it even more. So on these moisture sensors that are measuring EC, what are the companies providing as output information? What are they saying that EC is equated to?
Well, how much fertilizer has moved down? Like if your EC has gone up, down, or at a certain depth, or it has reduced at certain depth. If your salts are moving, fertilizers moving through the profile.
So Summit, you're laughing because they told you to ask me this one. Thanks, Lofton. It'll go back to the same thing we talked about. We get into this precision irrigation stuff. If we are stating a single point in the field gives me enough information to make a significant change, because now you're telling me, so I'm using a single point to measure the field. We don't recommend that for a soil sample. In fact, I would tell the farmer, if you take a single point as soil sample, throw it away. You just wasted 15 minutes of your life that you shouldn't have done. So we are going back and we're saying, okay, this one point of reference is driving what we do for water. This one single sensor, which honestly scares me. Because what if that one sensor, how many sensors have you installed that every single time the soil moisture sensor is installed, there's nothing wrong with it? Are you at 100% installation accuracy?
No.
So there's things that challenge when we're doing these things. And the reason we do one sensor is because they cost a lot and they're tough to install or challenging, or, we're talking a couple thousand per sensor. And so how do you deal with something that costs a lot? You buy less of it, and you deal with one. And so now we move to the EC measurement. And, they're saying as the EC changes, so EC is electrical conductivity. How well does electricity conduct through that soil profile, through points or outside of points? We typically think of EC in the terms of on the soil as far as a textural, it often is texture, or soil moisture, because as soil moisture changes within a texture, EC changes. It drops because there's less moisture to conduct electricity. But also, the other aspect is salts. So I am challenged with saying that, okay, the EC is changing, meaning we have a change in salt concentration. They're making the direct assumption that salt concentration is nutrient salt. Maybe it's nitrate, maybe it's this. It could be a chloride, it could be a sodium. Anything that's changing that EC is just a salt that's allowing the electricity to be conducted better. So to say that that's watching nitrates move or change is taking a little bit of a leap to say that I know without a fact that it's nitrate, if only EC is being used. Some of them are using it's called NIR. They're looking at a spectroscopy, or they're basically emitting a light beam, and that light beam peaks with certain nutrients. We do it often in the laboratory. And so certain parts of the light spectrum, RGB, the RGBIV, and near-infrared are associated with different chemical properties, different things like that. And so those that have the NIR might be able to spectrum out. But if we're only saying EC is related to nutrients, there's a lot of modeling that goes in there that's very specific, because EC is going to increase as the soil salt concentration increases. The salts, ammonium nitrate salt, urea, it's a salt product. Potassium chloride, salt. Phosphorus is not any salt, but sodium is going to be associated with salt. So there's some leaps being made. I have more interest on the soil moisture sensors, intriguing in that they're using models again. How accurate are they? I don't know. But using models to estimate root growth, because they're basically saying we don't see water changing at this point in the profile, but we do here, so that is draw from the root. So our roots are at least exploring soil moisture at X, Y, Z depth. I think we could use the depth of rooting to, predict our ability to scavenge nitrogen, or our inability to scavenge nitrogen, because we're in a shallower rooting system. A year where we have a lot of really light rainfalls in the Panhandle, we tend to root shallower. We tend to have a lot more green snap when weather comes in, because it can't stand. A season where we have a drier spring and you're really living off of that pre-water, roots tend to explore more. We tend to get more residual. That's why we were able to grow 300 bushel corn last year at OPREC off of almost no nitrogen, is because we had the perfect environment for that crop to root, and root deeply. Year before, it was not a deep rooting crop, and we needed basically everything the crop needed we had to supply, because it was a shallow rooted system. So a soil moisture sensor that can tell me rooting depth will tell me, if I see that I have good rooting depth, I'm going to lower my total nitrogen applied. If I'm shallow, I'm starting to pour on the nitrogen to it, as far as in-season fertigation and top dress.
Fortunately, some of these moisture sensors actually provide an estimation how far your roots have reached in the soil.
And so that's really fascinating data for me. How common are you seeing in the High Plains region what we would call a true VR irrigation? How many people are putting, besides just the drive where you were doing a pie shape, how many are doing section or drop-wise variable rate in the High Plains? Do you see anybody adopting those higher end?
I know only 2 guys who have had it. One of the guys, he has had the VRI that he can control every 4 nozzles, because he has a pond in his field, and he has to shut those specific number of nozzles off. So he's doing it. That technology is expensive, and it probably is, it's 5 years ahead of us maybe. Okay. It's expensive, but it's useful. I have not seen many people using it. The best they can use is they can speed up, or they can slow down. It depends upon if you're going up some people do it if they're going up a very steep hill in their field. You put 1 inch, not everything is going to go down, it's going to run off, so you just better speeding up. So that those kind of technologies are very common, where you can speed up and slow down, but controlling every nozzle is not.
The VRI, as far as the pie shapes, always intrigued me. Is that, I'd like to see some more of the economists and modelers look at some of that stuff, and I know it's been done, but basically what Summit's saying is, on the original VRI on an irrigation, is this thing's going in a circle, and so you either speed it up or slow it down, meaning that your variability that you're applying is in a shape of a pie.
Right? Yeah.
And so if you look at a lot of aerial images, or look at a lot of fields, not many of them are variably shaped as pies.
Right.
And so, there's points of the field that would work out well, but there's a lot of the times where you're actually, the variance is going perpendicular to what that's doing. So it's more of a challenge to say, what's the value. So there's some fields that I've seen that work out great, that it's more almost old quarters where this quarter section was, or this quarter of the field was managed this way, or this soil type and this wasn't. But when you have that, like an old creek shed going right through one, going across it, what's the value of variable rate in that?
Well, and the first time I actually met you, I was shooting a story with Jason out at McCall,
Yes.
and he showed me the ability to dial in specific fertigation in different rows, even out there, and is that's along the lines of what you were talking about there, but. Out at McCall, you had different crops. You had corn, you had sorghum, all in the same center pivot. If I remember correctly, where is technology whenever it comes to being able to manage something on that scale?
So that pivot that you're talking about already had VRI on first 4 spans.
Okay. Okay.
So those outer 4 spans, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Those outer 4 spans were irrigating corn, and the inner spans, the 3 inner spans were milo. So we were controlling water through VRI in corn.
Yeah.
And it was planted nitrogen by water study, and those things were managed as pies. What Dr. Arnold was saying, that you can see, you don't see the management that you controlled in the shape of file. You don't see that shape of pie when you in an aerial imagery or something.
Right.
One of the reasons we found that the low water treatment and high water treatment, they were side by side. That water was actually running off to the other treatment. So there's a slope.
Okay.
Yeah, you can see, but in some cases the pie was visible and beautiful, but in some cases the water was moving in different directions.
I really thought that all of the Panhandle was flat. I know it's
It relatively it is if you compare with this part of the state.
right.
So on your question of the tech, so technically, we've been able to do that for probably a decade or better. I mean, even as a grad student, we were working. UNL had variable. I remember one of the first UNL variable rate irrigation rigs they put up. There was a field scale. Within a week of being up, it got hit by lightning.
Oh, no.
And so, I mean, that was it. But we've had the technology, and I think Summit said it well too. Is that the technology's there? It just cost a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's like the engineers have been ahead of us agronomically for a very, very long time. And so it's just us catching up as far as the ability to scale up that technology cost, showing where the value is, ROI, and getting the tech costs down. But, yeah, so the tech's there, the cost is up, and us showing the ROI to it.
Well, and one thing folks don't think about is the cellular need for that too, because, I mean, McCall... the nearest cell phone tower is probably an Elkhart, maybe,
Yes.
I guess. And so you're trying to hit a signal that's 15, 20 miles away. And, I mean, I remember Jason being in the field and not being able to get a signal on his cell phone.
You can literally determine if you have a signal by how tall the corn crop is at McCall. Because no, it's
I never
serious.
thought about that. Yeah,
because once your corn crop gets above like your shoulder, there's no signal in that field.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then the minute it gets harvested, the cell phone signal turns back on.
Yep, there you go.
It is there's a month and a half to where there's no cell phone signal in that pivot, and it's because the corn is so tall, and it just blocks it out, because the minute it is below your shoulder or gets harvested, it's fine.
It absorbs those radiation.
Yeah.
We have to lift up, increase the height of our moisture sensors antennas.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is one thing that, and even in Louisiana we had to deal with interference from other electrical things in relay points too, because we passed over our big pump, and sometimes it would just drop signal in between that pump, and it was because there's a lot of things, a lot of moving parts on those, especially the wireless things that you're not going to get right the first time.
Right.
If you do,
Yeah.
you're very lucky.
It's funny, even 15 years ago when Weckler and them and BAE was working on the weevil traps, I don't know if you remember
I
that.
remember that, yeah.
Their biggest challenge was they're in a pecan orchard and they can't get the information out.
Yeah, yeah.
Trying to get that data out from those by-tree traps. So it's funny to see those things.
Yeah.
Now, you just got to send a drone up once a day with the cell phone to go send out the data and drop back down. And the drones can go high out there. I can promise you that much.
Legally 400 feet, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
We
easily.
worked with PTCI to bring Wi-Fi at McCall Farm, and our administrative support over there, she worked hard with
Yeah.
them to bring Wi-Fi signal over there. But cellular signal you guys were talking about, it brought a point in my mind. We have talked about irrigation scheduling and everything, and a little bit I touched upon water losses.
Right.
We are talking about technology that's very high end.
Yeah.
But water losses can occur from very simple thing, and one of the thing is, it has rained. You know you don't need to put water, but your pivots are still running because you're scared it's gonna get stuck.
Yeah.
The other thing, those are dirt roads, and you can go and turn the wells off, but those are dirt roads. They're wet. You might get stuck,
Right.
or you will tear apart that road
Right.
if you have four-wheel drive.
Yeah.
So, but we have this technology that we can control our pivots, control our drip, but we don't have technology we can control our gas well remotely.
Yeah.
So if I can shut, and it cannot be shut off like this.
Right.
It has to be shut off slowly.
Yep.
Because that water that it's in the shaft, as soon as you shut it off, it's gonna go down. Wow. And when it's gonna go down, that pump which was moving this way, it's gonna start moving in reverse direction.
Right.
So
Wow. I never would have thought of that.
yes. So there are some of those things which can be as simple as that, and which are costing some water.
Reach out. We've talked about all these things. Reach out into the future. Like where do you see this going? Like what's is this the thing, and we just need to make it more economically viable, or come to a breaking point that it's going to have to be done, or is there something new that's going to kind of take the place of this, that's going to be the next step in water conservation from an irrigation standpoint?
I guess all of the above.
Yeah.
It has to be affordable, and we have a finite source of water in the Panhandle. We have rechargeable aquifers in southwest Oklahoma, but there will be a point it has to be done. That's what I see in my lifetime. So, and if it doesn't have to be done somewhere else, I don't think anybody's gonna if wells going down, and it has happened, nobody stopped irrigating. They just joined multiple wells, and they made it work. And that's the beauty of farming and farmers. They always find a way. And we've been doing it for 8,000 years, and we have come this far. We'll go forward from here.
Now that we've covered the center pivots, let's talk subsurface irrigation. I mean, that's there have been leaps in technology in the research over the past so many years when it comes to subsurface technologies.
Yeah, subsurface, the most efficient irrigation technology we have, and that's one that you can control remotely. And you can control each zone to very precision. We have one up there at Panhandle Research Station, and Dr. Warren sits on his computer over here, and by one click he turns it on, turns it off. Of course, I have to go there and turn the well on or off.
That's the first step. Is the text message comes first,
Yeah.
and then
You have 10 minutes.
He just gets Summit just gets an update. Warren's on his phone. Go turn on the pump.
So you do that, and it has like any other irrigation system, it has pros and cons.
Right.
But you will see more of drip irrigation system in southwest Oklahoma than in the Panhandles,
Mhm.
but it is there, and to some extent it is growing too.
I'm kind of curious. You dive into briefly why is it slower in the high plains and not down? I mean, down in Altus they got Lugert. There's drip down there. Why do you think it's slower adoption in the high plains than the southern plains?
I'd say everybody has worked with pivots, and they're comfortable with it. If you will find a subsurface, you will find it in the corners of that pivot. And it's when it comes to management, it is its own subject.
Right.
Yeah. So the biggest issue you can run into is rodents. And you have to replace the filters. Farmers still have capacity for 400 gallons per minute, 600 gallons per minute, and they can operate a pivot with that capacity. Now, the area we irrigate with drip irrigation, that well is 150 gallons per minute.
Wow.
It cannot power that lateral.
Wow.
So to put an inch, you should. Dr. Warren can talk a lot more about it than I would, but I think just to put an inch may take 24 hours on 60 feet by 600 feet zone.
So with that 1 inch application, are they getting more bang for that buck in that 1 inch versus the 4 inches that or the inch and a half or whatever in the other in the center pivot?
It depends. It depends what your fuel is costing. In the Panhandle, it's electrical.
Right.
It's operated through electricity, and electricity is in past years had been expensive. It's been electricity, diesel, and then gas.
Yeah.
So gas was very cheap. So now in the situation we are in, it probably are both at the same level. But if it rains and even with the drip irrigation system, you have to give it some water so that water can pipe up to the surface.
Right.
Because that surface needs moisture for your seed to germinate. So you have to be careful with that. But once it's going, it's very efficient. Yeah, and you can control it. So which one is better may depend on what are you using to operate it, gas or electricity.
You got to think about it. So those wells that are 100 gallons per minute, it's I always have to look at that. It's about 27,000 gallons per acre inch.
Wow.
So if you're only pushing 100 to 150 gallons per minute, but you need 27,000 gallons per acre to get an inch, that's why you're not doing a quarter section with a 150 gallon well.
Boom. Boom. Irrigation.
Boom. Irrigation.
Boom. Well, is there anything else you want to cover?
Yeah.
This doesn't have to be in the podcast, but I've always wondered, how does irrigation affect the playa lakes out there?
Playa lakes?
Yeah.
It does not.
Like, is there regulation for running irrigation on or over or around those playas out there?
No, sir.
No.
You won't find that water running to a playa lake. It probably is going to the ditch, and it's gonna stay there until it evaporates. And I tell you, your neighbor probably won't complain about it.
Yeah.
But if he sees dirt blowing off your field, somebody might say it, or frown. They may not say it, but they will frown, because you can see the dirt, you can smell it.
and like in some parts that really focus on irrigation, talk about like the Mid-South and stuff like that. the predominant thing that they're focused on isn't necessarily irrigation scheduling or anything like that, but they're talking about like tailwater recovery. Like,
Yes.
do you think that's something that's going to have to be talked about out in the high plains at some point in time, or because we do have those that you running off into the ditch is not that big of an issue? I mean, it obviously is, but I mean,
Yeah, but I tell you, you don't see that very often.
You don't
though.
see it?
No, you don't. 9 out of 10 times, if I see water in a ditch, it's because of the rain.
well, that's what I'm wondering, is that it's those things that it's not the common thing, because tailwater recovery is really big in like furrow irrigation kind of
Yes,
thing.
surface. Yeah.
But you said that it's one of those things they don't want to stop irrigation even if it's raining, because you might not get it start back up the whole summer.
Yes.
And so it's like, is that one of those things that you need almost hey, when this happens, we need to have a plan in place for that, or do you think that it just
in Southwest they do tailwater recovery?
Mm.
Yeah. I think Dr. Salih once told me that you cannot use the tailwater in the drip.
Mm.
Yes.
It's just too dirty?
I think it's some kind of regulation.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I could be wrong on it. But I remember having conversation with him when I was doing master irrigator over
Mhm.
there. They do tailwater recovery, and they are actually pretty good at it. That very minimal losses. If the water that has come to your field and you have not been able to use it, somebody's going to use it.
Yeah.
So
Well, I remember back when I was down south is that we had to put it into a surface pond to then reuse it, because we irrigated off surface ponds. So
Yeah, you will see playa lakes in Texas Panhandle.
Mhm.
I have not come across any in Oklahoma Panhandle.
Mm.
You will see water standing if
Mhm.
it has rained 2 inches within an hour, and in conditions like these we are having, maybe within a week it's gone.
Mm.
So that's what happened. It was a flash flood on June 11th or 7th or 8th that McCall's received 3 inches within 2 hours, and a mile east of us received 5 inches within those 2-3 hours. And I can show you the video. Did I send you the video?
Mhm.
Yeah, you saw that it was a flash flood that was going through Gulf Creek, and it reached all the way from to Guyman.
Mm.
And I heard there was some water in Optima Dam. Not a lot.
I thought I saw people water skiing out there on Optima
The
after
bait
that rain.
shops opened right up.
Yeah, the bait shop opened right up.
Yeah.
Water skiing behind a four-wheeler.
Well, I didn't say behind what, but they were water skiing on Optima.
But it didn't last for long. And people were asking me to go take a look at it. I should have had. I did not. I missed the opportunity
It might have been
it's
a once in a lifetime. summit.
Yes, you're right.
Thank you for listening in on this conversation of the Red Dirt Agronomy Podcast. And if you would like to join the next conversation, just send us an email, podcast@reddirtagronomy.com, or send us a tweet. Our handle is reddirtag. We would like to thank Dr. Sumit Sharma for joining us on the podcast today. And to find out more about him or any of our guests, along with any of the resources that we talked about today or on any previous podcast, visit reddirtagronomy.com. There you will find show notes and you can listen to past episodes as well. For Dr. Josh Lofton, Dr. Jason Warren, and Dr. Brian Ernell, I am not a doctor, but I play one on a podcast, Dave Deacon, and we want to thank you for listening. The proceeding is a copyrighted recording of Ag Now Media, LLC, 2022. And yes, all rights are reserved.